Hi, welcome to episode 449 of The Corner of Knit and Knee. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Twitter and Instagram and over on Blue Sky. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea where I sell my hand-spun patterns and yarns, and you can find this episode and every episode show notes over at thecornerofknitandtea.com. Hi, how are you? It is Monday morning. It is November 27th, Cyber Monday, and it is about 11:30 in the morning. I'm taking a bit of an early lunch, and I thought I would record a little bit and chat with you guys. So I missed last week because I was out of town for the Thanksgiving holiday. My husband and I drove out to California to see my parents, which was lovely. The weather was great. It was in the 70s. The kids, my sister's kids, my niece and nephew, were delightful. We had lots of adventures and fun, made lots of memories. It was a very, very long drive home, and the weather changed, so we got hit with some snow and ice on the way home. But we are back, and we dove back into work this morning, and it is about what you would think for the Monday after taking a week-long holiday. But it was lovely. I got so much crafting done and just enjoyed spending time with my favorite people. So I hope that you are doing well. If you are outside the US, I'm sure you did not celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday last week. It is a holiday that is fraught with political I don't even know what to say about it. It is kind of a terrible holiday. It is about the colonization of the United States and more or less the destruction of the Native American population. So I don't celebrate the holiday in those senses. We do get together as a family and we make some traditional fall recipes and some of my grandmother's recipes, which is really nice to keep alive. And so it was nice to see each other, even though we weren't specifically celebrating the holiday itself. So, I guess I will get started. I don't have lots of chatty for you, just because there's too much to even begin to cover. A little bit of it will come out as I go through the podcast, because I'll share a little bit about what we did and where we went and some of those kinds of things as I talk through. So today I am switching to Christmas mode. I always, so I joke, no Christmas until after Thanksgiving. That's where I'm at with it. Other than if you are crafting for Christmas, sometimes you have to start early. For instance, if you're making a tree skirt or a Christmas quilt or you're crafting for holiday gifts, obviously you have to start a little early. But all the Christmas carols and decorations and shopping and all of that kind of thing, I like to wait until after Thanksgiving holiday. But that means it's open season on Christmas. And what I was going to say is I have a million Christmas teas, and so I have pulled some of them out to start this week. So I am drinking in my Sip Something Simple mug. It was a sample from a friend who worked designing merchandise for the holidays, and today I am finishing up some Christmas tea from Adagio Teas. I ordered this ages and ages ago. I don't know if they still have it. It is black tea, cinnamon bark, orange peels, natural spice flavor, cardamom, cloves, ginger root, natural ginger flavor, and natural cinnamon flavor, and it was just a bit of a bag, and like I said, I finished it today, but it smells all like Christmassy. So it's basically spices and a little bit of orange peel, and it is delicious, and hopefully the caffeine will get me through the morning. So that is lovely. So let's talk about what I made. I finished one thing that you will not see, which is I finished my mom's socks. So when I left here, I had maybe 3/4 of the first sock done. I don't think I ever finished the first sock before. No, I didn't. I had just started turning the heel right before we left. So last time you saw it, it was just a little bit of a cuff. So I finished the first sock, and then I decided to only do half the second sock on our trip out. And that is because my mom had let me know that her old socks had shrunk up a little bit, and that she has arthritis, and so her ankles are probably a little bit more swollen than they used to be. And so she had let me know that they weren't fitting as well as she'd like. They were really hard to get on. And so I just went up a size and knit a slightly larger sock. She has size 5.5 feet, so I had been knitting a size 56 stitch sock. And so I went up to 60 stitches, and then I did, that gave me an extra row or two in the gusset as well. And so what I decided was I finished the first sock and let her try it on first before I did the heel and gusset and foot on the second sock. And the first one fit perfectly, so I could have gone ahead and finished it, but I didn't quite. So I arrived at her house with 1.5 socks complete, and then I gave her her socks either on Wednesday or Thursday. I can't remember. I worked on them while I was in California. And true to form, I did not take a picture either, so I have nothing to show you. I used some yarn from a local dyer to me. That information will be in the show notes because for some reason, I think it's in the garden, and it was her perennial sock base. I do know that it was Blackberry Jam was the colorway on the socks, and it was pinks and purples and kind of like cobbler top colors, so like a little brown and taupe, yellow. And she really liked them and was super happy with them. So that is the thing that I finished while I was in LA. The other thing that I finished on my car ride that I didn't bring to show you is I took chicken parts. So I knit supplies for another chicken while we were gone. And it was just big garter stitch patches, and it wasn't a very exciting color, so I haven't brought that to show you. So let's talk about the other projects that I worked on while I was gone. I brought 4 projects with me. I brought my mom's socks, I brought the chicken, and then I brought 2 others with me. So the first is my NaKniSweMo sweater, which is not done, and it is unlikely that I'm going to make the deadline. Basically, NaKniSweMo is knit a sweater between November 1st and November 30th of 50,000 stitches. I will make the 50,000 stitches. I will probably not make the 30th deadline, which is this Thursday, and I'm basically just getting into the sleeves now, and I have some other things I need to tackle this week. However, let me show it to you. I am knitting Sorrel by Wool and Pine. I'm knitting the original version of the pattern. There's a spring sorrel, there's a summer sorrel, they made a variety of other versions in different weights and textures, and so you can check that pattern out if you are interested. I have the pattern linked in the show notes. It goes directly to the Wool and Pine website. So you will not be sent to Ravelry, and they have the other versions of the design there. So the design that I am knitting is meant to be knit in fingering weight plus a lace weight held double, so it makes sort of a not quite DK-ish weight, maybe sport weight, and I am holding a brushed Surrey alpaca from, well, here, let me show you. I am holding a brushed Surrey. I do not like mohair, so I find it itchy. So I am using a halo lace, which is brushed Surrey alpaca from Apothecary Fibers and Fabrications, and it is lovely, and it is in the colorway, I cannot remember, but I ordered, I think it's Botanic. The first 3 were not labeled, and I ordered a 4th and put them in the sun, and they looked close enough, so I have not bothered, so I have enough of that. That was the only skein I basically ordered for this sweater, which is not to say it's an inexpensive sweater. It's not, but I used everything else from stash. So this is what I'm holding doubled with everything else, and then I had 4 skeins. I actually finished a chunk of one. But this is Mad Tosh TML Tosh Merino Light in saltwater, and that is the second in my gradient. And then the third in my gradient is Vera, I can't remember. And this is from Geeky Girl Fibers, who is no longer dyeing, but it is her sock weight, and it is in lots and lots of greens. And then I don't know what this is. So I pulled a couple different skeins of a turquoise or a dark teal. And I had one that I wound up, but then I had this one that had been partially used and was sitting in my stash. And to be fair, I don't actually know what it is. It might be Zen Yarn Garden. It might be left over from a previous project that I did, or it might be something else, because if you've been with me for a little while, you know that I love dark teal. So it's not surprising to me that I had a ball of this. So I don't know what it is, but it is a fingering weight and it is a dark teal. So these are kind of the 3 colors in my gradient as I'm working on it right now. And I had a lighter one. It was a white with green speckles, and that was right at the top, but I already finished with that one and did not need it for future purposes, so I went ahead and tucked it into a slightly different project bag, which I'll talk about at another time. So here is where I am at on my woodland sorrel. So oh, you know what? That is Ha ha ha. You knit it inside out because it is knit in reverse stockinette. So that is inside out. So let's try this again. Here is my woodland sorrel. So the top is really fun with dip stitches, and you can see I used a much lighter one at top, and then I went into my saltwater, which has those great pops of blue in there, and then we went down to the green and the teal. So this is where I'm at with my sweater. I think that gives you a rough approximation. It's a little hard with the light in here. I'll have to take some photos. So that is where I'm at, and I finished the body before we got home, which was wonderful. And so last night I started on a sleeve. Now I'm going to flip it back inside out so I can show you where I am on the sleeve. So I started on the first sleeve, and I'm probably maybe 4 or 5 inches in on the first sleeve. So here's where I'm at. It's kind of a mess because I'm transitioning between colors, and so there's a lot of that in there. Plus I'm holding double-stranded, but I am just knitting that sleeve in the round. As I said, I don't think I'm going to make the November 30th deadline to finish this because I have some other things I'm working on, but I should get this done in the next week or two because it is just 2 sleeves, and I need to do 15 to 16 inches, possibly a little bit more. I'm not sure yet. I need to try it on as I go. They actually aren't specific about, they're specific if you want to do like 1/2 or 3/4 sleeves, but then they were like, or knit them as long as you want. So I'm gonna have to try it on along with the yoked sweater. So that is what I'm working on, and I'm very pleased with my progress. I finished the body, I think, on Thanksgiving, while everyone else was doing a puzzle, and then I started the sleeve last night at knit night, which was my first one that I'd been to in a little bit, and oops, dropped a ball of yarn there. And so I will pick this back up when I am at my desk this week and work on this. Like I said, I have a few other things that I have started on, which I'll be able to show you. And I will finish this one as I can. We are just at the beginning of winter, and if this weekend was any indication, it's going to be a cold one. When we entered Kansas on our drive back, we entered at the southwest corner of Kansas. Now I live on the eastern side of Kansas, but there was a snowstorm, and it was 8 degrees when we got back into Kansas on late Saturday night, and wow, was it cold. We stayed in southwestern Kansas and then drove home the next day. The roads were icy and slushy, and it has been in the 20s and 30s. It will be back up into the 50s later at the end of this week. That's kind of the Midwest for you. But if this weekend, if 8 degrees in November is any indication, we're gonna have a long cold winter, and I'm really gonna love this sweater. So that is the first thing that's on the needles. The second thing that I took with me to put on the needles is a baby blanket, and the pattern is going to be mine. It will be forthcoming, hopefully in January, and I have showed you, I knit the swatch for this a while ago. So I wanted to kind of make my own pattern with these little chevrons, and this is the swatch. This is not the colorway that I'm using, but it is the same yarn. It's Malabrigo Rios, and this one is in cerise, which is cherries, and the one that I am using is denim, and again, this is just a swatch that I did with the blanket. I wanted to do I-cord edging and then a fun chevron in there, and so I started this on the way home because, as it turns out, I thought the baby was due in January. The baby is due December 15th. I will not finish in time, which is okay because it's going to be a long cold winter, as I just said, and I will mail the gift to them, but I do need to get my butt moving. So I am using I have Malabrigo Rios, as I said, in, blue jeans, I mean basically denim, and Rios is a worsted weight, approximately 210 yards to 100 grams, 100% superwash merino wool. This is super soft and cuddly, and I have knit sweaters for my niece and nephew in Rios, and my sister has washed them before in the machine, and just a delicate tumble dry on low heat, and they hold up pretty well. And of course, when I am knitting for folks who have babies or children, I am definitely knitting in superwash merino, in something that can handle the washing machine, because I know babies are messy, and you want to keep things clean. So that is the colorway that I'm using, and that's a pretty good approximation. It's just a really beautiful blue denim. I don't know why I picked this, except that when I started knitting up the swatch, I really saw it in kind of a blue denim colorway. So this will need a good blocking because this pattern tends to like kind of curl up because it's reverse stockinette and stockinette, but this is where I am. So you can kind of see that I started with the, let me figure out which is the front and which is the back. Okay, I think, no, yeah, this is the front. Okay, so you can see that it's a little hard to see, but if I hold it back further and when I block it, it will pop out a little bit more. So you can see I have my chevrons in alternating stockinette and reverse stockinette, and I have my I-cord border. I knit the first 3 pattern repeats, so basically the first 3 chevrons in here, and this pattern will be more or less reversible. I say more or less because this is definitely the front. I do 2 extra rows of stockinette stitches in the knit chevron on the front of the blanket, which means on the reverse of the blanket there are 2 extra reverse stockinette stitches, so the those tend to be more prominent, but basically it's got an I-cord edge that is rounded, so other than I'll need to weave in the ends, it is more or less reversible. It's not 100% the same pattern, but it is almost exactly the same pattern, and so I'm really pleased with that. And so I will just be working on this over the next month or so and hopefully have it done fairly quickly so that I can send that off to our friends for their new baby boy. And I have a Charlie Brown themed name because that's kind of what I was thinking of when I thought about this pattern. And as I said, when I block it, it will lay flat, and it is definitely still subtle, but you can see the chevrons in there. So I'm excited about that and was glad to get a good start on that. Sorry, one of my nails caught on my knitting, and so I wanted to be sure it wasn't going to do that. So that is the other thing that I started. I also have 2 more things that are going on the needles now that I am home. So the first is that I have another shawl that I need to knit. It is a sample for Zen Yarn Garden, and the yarn that I am using is their Superfine Fingering in Iceberg, which is one of their Jump in the Pool colorways. So this is a 90-10 blend of superwash merino nylon, and it is Jump in the Pool because it is a colorway that is dyed so that it is pooling. And so we've got kind of this royal blue on one half, and then the speckles, the red and yellow and green speckles on the other half. And the shawl that I'm going to be doing, I can't remember what it is called. I will put it in the show notes and I will bring it next week because I will have started it by then. But it is one of those shawls that has some dropped stitches in the speckled, like it is meant to be a pooling shawl, and you do one thing, you do your garter stitch or stockinette stitch in your dark color, and then you do your other thing in the second color. Those are called pooling patterns or yarn lead patterns, and this one should be pretty quick because it's just a single skein of fingering weight yarn for a roughly triangular shawl, and so that is what I'm going to work on. The other thing is that I actually have a second baby gift, and this baby is also due in the next couple weeks. And while I was in LA, one of the mornings we got up and Wes said, "Come on, let's go out early. I have a surprise for you." And he took me to a coffee shop he had found on his run, and then he took me to a yarn store that was quite near our hotel. And technically I did know the yarn store was there. One of the years we visited my parents, I ran out of knitting. I literally knit everything I brought before we left for the home trip, and so I made him take me to a yarn store that year so I could buy something, so I could knit something else on the trip home, because I was like, I don't have anything to knit. I don't know how we can do a cross-country drive. I have never made that mistake again. I have always taken way more than I needed because I could have done the whole baby blanket before I ran out of yarn, and clearly that was not going to happen. So, but we did go by the yarn store, and he sent me in, and I need nothing. But one of my friends at the chicken studio is expecting a baby later this month, and I wanted to knit her a little something for the baby. She's having a little girl, and one of my favorite baby gifts is to give people soft cotton washcloths and then give them some Johnson & Johnson baby shampoo. And a lot of times what I will even do is Johnson & Johnson, which is like a US brand of baby shampoo. It's really mild. They make one with lavender. It's like purple color. They make one with lavender, which is supposed to be really soothing for baby before bedtime. And so since it was a little girl, I decided to go ahead and pick up a bottle of the lavender soap, and then I decided to make some washcloths. And so what I bought is I bought some 100% cotton from Appalachian Baby Design. It is US organic cotton, and they are both sport weight. And so I'm going to make some washcloths. And I am familiar with this brand because actually I used to work for them a little bit when I was back at the agency. That was a long time ago. They haven't been a client for years, but their cotton yarns are really, really soft. They make really nice washcloths. Now, cotton is always a little bit hard to knit with because it doesn't have the same give that wool or other animal fibers knit have. But this one is just really, really super soft, and so I love that. So I got some in the silver colorway. So, and this is a skein of 194 yards, 3 ounces. And then I also got some in the lavender colorway. So I'm going to do a couple, maybe 2 in silver and 2 in lavender, and then give that with a bottle of Johnson's & Johnson's lavender baby shampoo as just a fun little baby gift. Because we work at the chicken studio together, we are both crafters, and so I'm sure she'll appreciate the gift. That said, we're not like super close, so I opted not to do a baby sweater or a baby blanket. So I think for her first, I knit a baby bonnet and some socks. Anyway, so I need to do a couple washcloths between now and then, and I have one pattern that I really, really like. It's called Leafy Washcloth by Megan Goodacre. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and I have made it many times before. I do think it calls for a slightly heavier weight cotton, but I'm just going to go ahead and make it in the smaller cotton, and if I have to add a few more rows to make it long enough, or a few more stitches to make it wide enough, it's basically one of those where you cast on and then you work out and then in to make kind of the leaf shape, and so I can do that with these. So that is the other project that will be going on the needles sometime this week. Hence, you can see why I may not finish my sweater this week. So, sip of tea, and then I will show you a little bit of spinning news, and then we'll be done. So I actually finished applying this last night, but I finished the singles for it before I left. And this was a braid of Cormo from Hello Yarn that was in the colorway Fig Leaf and Port. And it was pinks and purples, kind of mauves and browns. And I almost think it looks a little bit like Neapolitan ice cream. It's very soft looking. It's also very soft feeling. And my guess is it's going to be between 325 and 350 yards, which will put it at a sport to DK weight. And it is absolutely lovely. It would make socks, it would make winter accessories, it would totally make a baby sweater, although it is not superwash, so I will tell you that. And it needs a washing and then a final measure, and then it will go up in the shop later this week. So if that is something that kind of strikes your fancy, it's very barber pole-y and just lots of pinks and browns, and it's just very soft looking. So I really, really like it. You can see a little bit where the colors overlapped, but for the most part, it's just a really nice barber pulling skein. So that brings me to what I will spin this week, and I was looking around for a little bit of color because it's quite gray out now, and I settled on this one. This is the September 2023 Club Colorway for Hello Yarn. It is called Willow the Wisp, and it is blues and purples, except for a few things. Like there's a little bit of kind of a russet orange there. There's a little bit of hot pink you can see, and peach. So this one is just going to be a fun, colorful braid to spin up. It is 23 micron tarhi, so it is really, really extra special soft. Remember, the lower the micron count, the finer. Micron is how wide the hairs are, and so the lower the micron count, the finer the fiber, the softer it's going to be. And so 23 is quite low, and so it's a really nice merino. So super soft, super fun. I think this is gonna give me some lovely color for the week, and so I'm gonna work on that and probably won't have it done by the time I speak to you next. Unfortunately, we had a death in the family, and so we are going to be heading out for a funeral this coming weekend. So I'm not going to be around as much as I would have hoped to make use of my spinning wheel, but I do think I would like to set up the Christmas tree this week. I told you I'm all Christmas after Thanksgiving, because I would really like to knit and craft in the tree light with the lights. It's a magical time of season, and I love crafting next to a tree that's full of lights, and it just makes it kind of just kind of magical and romantic. And so my hope is that I will put that up this week and then bring my spinning wheel out there and then spend some more time spinning and knitting and doing all the things for the next month. I do think I'm going to try and get a bunch of things off the needles, and then I have a few projects that I would really like to focus on around Christmas and in January. And I think I might make January, I think as soon as I finish my sweater, the next project that I'm going to work on for me, I think I might focus on my chicken for a month so that I can just get that done, so I can have my chicken. For those of you who have been tuning in for a while, I work for a company called the City Girl Farm, and they produce the original chicken footstool. It is an a sculptural piece made from wood and brass and then natural fibers, and I knit lots of pieces for them and occasionally spin for them. And as part of working there, I get to make myself a chicken every now and again, and so I am working on spinning and knitting feathers for my chicken. So I will pull that out in the next few weeks. My hope is that maybe I'll be working on that over Christmas this year and into January until I finish it, and then not let myself cast on anything else for myself until that's done. We'll see how that works, because you know I generally get a wild hair and decide I need a new project, so that doesn't always work. Anyway, I hope that you have had a lovely couple of weeks. I missed chatting with you, but I'm glad to be back, and I don't foresee, well, I guess I shouldn't say that because Christmas Day is a Monday, and so I may or may not actually podcast on Christmas. But other than that, I don't foresee too many more interruptions in the podcast schedule. I hope that you are doing well and staying toasty warm or cool if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, and that you are getting ready to enjoy the holidays. I know these last few weeks before the end of the year are always stressful. There's lots of family obligations. There are all kinds of things, but I hope that you can carve out a little bit of time to make some fun memories and to enjoy yourself and to get a little crafting done. So I will say until next Monday when I see you again, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.